Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast, where we talk about real Canadian rugby. I'm Stu Hardy, joined once again by Jeff Robinson and Edward Pye, and today we have another very, very special guest joining us. She is a stalwart of the Canadian team. She has been to 2 Women's Rugby World Cups, and she is the 2025 Squidge Rugby Scrum-Half of the Year, Justine Pelletier. Justine, thank you for joining us today.
Hi. It's a pleasure. Thanks to you all.
All right. Well, as we always do with these kind of interviews, we want to know where everything began in your rugby journey. So, to start off, what got you started in rugby?
I actually started quite late. I started at 17 years old. So I'm from a little town called Rivière-du-Loup, and there's no rugby over there. But I was a multi-sport kid. So I played basketball, football, gymnastics. I kind of did all, even soccer and a bit of swimming. So when I moved to the big city for my studies, that's where I found rugby and I tried it all. And it was kind of a discovery and I just fell in love right away. And so, yeah, it was kind of the beginning of this love at first sight, I will say.
When you started getting into it, Justin, were there players that you looked up to? Like, were there anybody that influenced your career at that point? Like, obviously, starting later, you may not have had like role models growing up, but was there anybody that you kind of looked up to when you started getting into rugby?
Yeah, so in Quebec it was a bit hard to kind of watch rugby, so I didn't have like a lot of like models and stuff. So it was more in my club. I remember my first year of rugby, I watched the 2014 World Cup. So because it was on TV and all my club was going, so it was big watch parties, and that's kind of where I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And so my first kind of contact with international high level rugby was the women 15 team. So since then, well, I've been chasing that dream when I was a kid, and I started to watch a little bit more. But it was a bit hard to have like kind of idol in a sense. It was mostly like more of a feeling that I had, like, okay, I want to reach that level.
Mm.
Speaking of like influential, I guess, was there any player that when they step on the pitch, you just had to like watch them or think, wow, they were like tremendous. I want to be like that player?
Well, I watched a lot of the nines, obviously because of my position. So at that time, Aaron Smith was a big name in the rugby world. Um, but yeah, even well, now I watch a lot. I still watch a lot of the nines, but like for sure, Antoine Dupont, Fab de Klerk. There's a lot of great athletes, and so I'm discovering new new nines every weekend. So I don't have like one specific, I will say, but those are maybe the main ones that I've been watching a lot. Mm.
All right, yeah. And so, going back to your pre rugby days, because you played quarterback for your high school Canadian football team. Obviously, football and rugby have a lot of like shared roots. So, was there any elements from football that you were able to migrate over to rugby? Probably not passing forward, but other things.
Yes, actually a lot. I was, like you said, quarterback, so I was used to have a game plan and have like those plays. So I first started at the center and I moved quickly to nine, but my first lines were as a center, and for me it was very easy to understand the timings, lines, which is actually very hard to get like the perfect timing of a inline or just to learn the plays and to know your role. So it was quite easy because I was used to like learn 60 plays. So it was kind of a on that easy, and also the contact part. For me was kind of a freedom because I used to be very protected during contact in my football team. because I was the only quarterback. So I was not allowed to do any contact. So it was kind for me. I was watching a lot of the guys working on like skills and stuff, and so I think the watching for me was just after that executing when I came rugby. So and there's a lot of similarities like running with the ball, um, sidestep, like it's the same goal to go forward. So it's just yeah the path that is behind. I would say.
Speaking of those passing skills there, it's quite a different skill, football to rugby, and then going from centre to scrum half is a big
Mhm.
change as well. How long did it take you to get the swiftness of pass that you actually felt comfortable playing in the nine position?
It was actually fast. For me, it's a challenge. Like every new skills is very a challenge, and it's something I very like look forward to, and I very love to learn those little skills. So I think it was quite fast. I guess all my multi-sport background kind of helped me to learn just easy to learn new skills because it was kind of pushing the same as a basketball, but there's a little twist to it, and which is it's kind of the opposite of football. But when you just get understand the twist and the way you handle the ball, so I think it was just a mix of all the multi sports that for me was easy to kind of put a little bit of everything at the same on the same movement and just yeah create a pass. So the challenge and the skills I had just to play with balls.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're a multi-skilled athlete and you started rugby late, I guess. You said 17 years old. Which of those sports do you think you're able to like bring over most skills, like convert into rugby, especially at your position? I guess you're kind of playing basketball, but was there other?
Yeah, well, basketball is a big one. I think just the hand catch, yeah, catch the ball is it's not that easy actually when you don't come from a you don't really play with the ball young. So, just the active part of it, the competitiveness, like it's just I think when you start young and you just are used to yeah play with a lot of different sports that like just unlock kind of your motor motor system, yeah, motricity I will say, can we say that, yeah. So yeah, I think it's very a mix of it, and basketball for sure, football for the footstep. I remember doing a lot of hurdles when I was doing football that helped me with with rugby, but mainly with training at the end. So yeah.
There's a lot of spatial awareness there as well, like understanding where people are moving and the different spaces that people are going into as well. So, you went to university at Laval. How was the step up from going into a university rugby team?
Yeah, so in Quebec, it's kind of not easy, but it's kind of a small world because there's one club and there's one university. So when you go through, like in Quebec, we have the cégep part, which is kind of before the university. So I started in cégep, which was a good door to with like kind of a basics initiation of the sports, and I quickly went to the club. And when you're in the club in Quebec, a lot of the players are also in Laval University, so it was kind of I had like kind of 2 years, 2 or 3 years of like practicing with all the players from Laval. So it was quite of a smooth entry, I will say, about like the group and the girls and um, I had 3 years in Cégep, and I was going quite fast up in the ranking. I will say I did the Quebec team, provincial team, and after that the under 20. So I kind of had a name for myself before university. So it was kind of a smooth entry for me, but a fun one because it was. Yeah, with my friends from club, and it was we were a really very tight group. So yeah, it was fun.
Okay, so you have a tight group. What is one of your most memorable experiences during your university rugby days?
Yeah, I'll have to say the 2019 championship. That's where Laval hit the goal for the first time, and that was the build up of. It would say, yeah, 4 years, 3 years. I don't remember. It's been a while, but it was the build-up of um, 3 years of like the same group. So we were a tight core that was, yeah, doing club, also doing provincial, going into Laval, and it was kind of the end of a cycle, and it was the perfect timing for the championship. So it was kind of the first time I felt the flow state. So in performance, we talk a lot about the flow states, and that's the first time I kind of felt it with my team and within myself. So it was a lot of control, and it was a great feeling, and I always remember it.
Wonderful. And it's good it happened in 2019 because the following year, well, the world shut down. The COVID-19 pandemic forced the end of the 2020 Rugby Quebec season. But there was an announcement of Rugby Quebec looking to get opportunities for players overseas so that they could continue playing whilst the pandemic was on. Unfortunately, France had a number of openings available. But obviously, this is just information that we read about in news reports. So, from your perspective, how did you end up playing for Stade Bourdelais?
So I kind of I think it was an advertisement of an opening in Stade Bourdelais that was sent in a provincial group. So it was in Quebec City. Someone sent like Stade Bourdelais is looking for players. So it was kind of a friend of a friend kind of situation that sent the link. And I think it was just a bit before the COVID was kind of very shutting down, but it's something I was interested of experiment because a lot of French people were in the club, and I love the culture of the French rugby, and I was always intrigued, and it was a way for me to just travel again around the world for rugby. And so I started conversation with the club, and I wanted to do an extra year in Laval University because I had a fifth year to play, and I wanted to do a special classes. So I was not very looking forward for that year, but COVID happened, and everything was shut down here. School was online, so I was like, perfect. I can go in France, do my school online, and keep playing rugby because they were able to keep playing for every sport that was high level, was elite sport were happening. So I was like, it's a good opportunity for me. And one year made a second year, and a second year made a third year, and a fifth year. So now I'm at sixth season, and I still love it here. So yeah, it was a great opportunity I seized.
Was that a big eye opener for you? Like that's into a professional setup. Did you notice a lot of differences between the professional setup in France versus, club and university in Canada?
Yeah, it was not very professional. Like I was professional because they were kind of bringing me, they were paying me to play. They give me a house, they give me like plane tickets. Um, but the structure of the club was kind of building. So the club was bottom of the chart. They were trying to build the club to go up top, but nothing was done yet. So I kind of knew I was what I was getting into. I was like, okay. But something very, very different is that rugby is deep in the culture here. Like everyone knows about rugby. Um, like the club, it's been there for uh, they were celebrating their 150 years of club. So I was gonna it's deep history, yeah, history. And so for me, it's more the structure that is better for club. Like we have a clubhouse, we have changing rooms, we have our own pitch. um, we go when we go play another club, we have like a bus, we have food on the bus. Sometimes we sleep at the hotel because it's too far away, so there's a lot of money in the club. There's a lot of sponsor. When I was playing in Quebec City, I was taking my own car, driving from Quebec to Ottawa, and sometimes we didn't even have showers for the drive back, so you know, it was kind of a big upgrade. And the fact that we can play the full year and not only the summer, because in Quebec there's a lot of snow, so we're limited. So it was kind of another world, for sure. Like, kind of for me was professionalism, even though it was not like the perfect structure like we can think of. I don't know, the men's or that they have. Yeah, so it was a more eye opening about the club energy and the vibe. Mm.
It's very interesting how you mentioned about the club, the culture when you first got there, because in 2023, you, I believe, won the championship and then defended in 24 and 25. So, how did each of those championships mean to you? Like, and maybe
Well,
if,
yeah. Every championship has their own flavor, I will say, because the first one, like, we were starting from the bottom, and every year we kind of were going up in the chart, and every year we add some stuff on the club. So they really love Canadian here in Bordeaux, because when we arrived, we had this mentality of like doing extra skills, working hard in the gym, and some of them tag along, and we're like, okay, well, it works for them, it should works for us. So now we are 20 plus the mornings at skills, and so now it's very more professional in terms of structure. But it was kind of the building, and when we won the championship, it was kind of the results of 3 years of like kind of working hard and trying to build this great program. And after that, the second one was kind of the confirmation, and the third one was like where we were very more professional in how we were presenting ourselves in games, and yeah, the program was very more like stable and very strong, and now we're trying to keep that for this year. Mm.
So, with the team in Stade Bourdelais, the head coach is Francois Ratier, you know, friend of the podcast and you know, well known within Canadian rugby circles. And the following the 2025 World Cup, it was announced that he would be the French head coach for the women's team. Considering that France have been in the WXV the last two seasons it's been running, how does it
Mhm.
feel to go from having Francois as your head coach to being the opposition's head coach?
Yeah, it's a bit funny. We kind of joke about it because I've seen him a few times now, because he still comes to the games, but as the French coach, and he came to Bordeaux to have individual meetings with the French girls, and so I did see him a few times, and we kind of joke about it, saying like, "Oh, I cannot talk to you. You're the enemy now." But it's still friendly. Like rugby is rugby, and on the pitch you're kind of enemies, but off the pitch you're still friends, and like so I think I that's how I see Francois now too. Like, he used to be my coach, so we still have good memories together, and it's actually fun to kind of know the opposite and to be the coach. I think it makes something like a bit exciting and fun, actually. Yeah, I was not surprised because uh, I've seen how he changed a little bit some mentality here at the club for the on like I would say the performance area, and I'm very not surprised he got the job. So yeah, I'm happy for him and the girls too.
Just sticking on the coach side here, Justine. we've seen just with the growth of women's rugby, it's almost going faster than men's rugby now. We've seen a lot more female coaches being promoted into bigger positions as well. And feel free not to answer this question if it makes you uncomfortable, but do you prefer a male or a female coach?
Um, I've seen the question. I don't have a perfect answer because I think it depends. Like I very encourage like women to be coaching. Um, I don't think um just because she's a woman needs to be like in the head like the first coach. I think to give the opportunity to women to learn and to be part of it, I think that's the way to do it. Because still think there's a great male coach that can also be very impactful in her game. And I think it's just about of create more opportunities for women to learn, to grow, and don't like skip steps because to get to be the greatest coach, you still need to understand the steps and follow the steps. And that's why I will say like for equal competence, uh, yeah, maybe I will prefer the, I will encourage the woman a little bit more, but I think it depends. I think it's a good balance to have a male and a female in the coach staff. Mm.
Great answer.
The best person for the job, no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, but to at least give the opportunities and give or include just to have a different idea of mind. Sometimes we think differently, and it's not a bad thing. Mm.
Well, speaking of national team, go Canada. Uh,
Mm.
your first match was in 2017 against England.
Yes.
Just what was your experience? Even putting on the jersey, walking on the pitch, listening, singing the anthem, feeling out the atmosphere. What are your memories of all that? Mm.
Um, that tour was a bit special. We actually call it between ourselves the dark tour, meaning it's a tour we must never talk about it. No, I'll explain myself. So it was a tour just after World Cup that same year, 2017. Um, and it was after national too, so it was kind of the week after. So personally, it was super hard. I was so tired, like I had the foot, like I was a bit injured at the time too, so it was not the best for me, and also for the team. We were, I think, 17 new caps on that tour. So, and we were playing England in England, that put their A team that was just from the back from the World Cup. So, I was having my first cap, and Sarah Hunter was having her 100th cap. So that was quite intimidating, and but mostly we were just felt like kids throwing on the pitch against the wolves, and um, but it was hard because it was big games, big losses, but it was very intense. It was still like a pride to be there. It was very intense. Everyone was very working hard, doing their best. We were just lacking a lot of experience. So um, average of the team, the last game was at Twickenham, so we were kind of beat up, and I will always remember on the try zone after a try, someone says, "Okay, just look at each other. The average of caps right now is 2, so don't be too hard on yourself." So yeah, that's why we call it the dark tour. It was a bit hard, but we came back to it in the year after. I think we beat England on the tour series, so it was okay.
Yeah,
It was
and
just a just misstep.
misstep on the way to greater
Mm,
things. Um,
exactly.
Interestingly, is that during this time, actually, before your first cap, from 2016 through to 2021, Canada didn't actually have any women's rugby matches in Canada, which means that all your games that you had been captain up until, I believe, yeah, would have been 2022. Um,
Yeah, WXV, yeah.
yeah, and WXV, I think the Pacific 4 series as well.
Yes.
And even I think it was the warm up games for the World Cup in New Zealand. So until then, all the games that you've been playing have been overseas. So how was it to play so many games over such a long spread of time? Because obviously
Mhm.
back then there wasn't these structures in the place, such as the Pacific 4 series or WXV. It was like Nation series or something like that, but they would all be held in the United States. How did it feel to go so many games without having like home support behind you?
Well, it was special in few ways because it was like you say, I was getting used to play overseas. Like it was not kind of it was kind of normal to not play home at home. So it was kind of like that, okay, realization of like, oh, we're home and this is special. Like um there was that, but also like the now playing home is like you kind of really feel wherever you go, like the communities kind of go around, like show up and just it's very a special feeling because you once you live it one time and you go back away, you kind of realize it that this is missing. So I was not really realizing like what was missing of not playing home. For me, it was just like, okay, it's normal. But actually, it's there's something special about playing home at home. And so wherever you are in Canada, like it doesn't matter where province you're from, it's always a celebration and it's very special. But also before we starting to have like those WXV, um we just didn't have much game in general. We had like I remember having like 3 games in a year, and after that COVID we had 2 years without a single game. So I just remember like it was just hard to have games. So now that we have more, it feels even more special, I think, to go home because we travel a lot in general. So yeah, it's very tiring. Yeah.
Speaking about that year, during COVID, where you guys were preparing for the 2021 World Cup, and then, COVID came along and delayed that World Cup. You lost a year basically of preparation time there. How were you able to cope with that and actually work through that year off?
Yeah, I was quite young. I think I was 23 or 24, 23, I think. So I was still young. It was my first caps too. Like I was at, I think, 6 or 7. I don't remember specifically, but I remember it was new for me. And actually, that extra year, it was not a big deal for me. It was more like, okay, I have an extra year of preparation to be better because I knew I had a lot of, of things to work on. So for me, it was not that hard, but I know for the oldest player, it was kind of hard because they had to push retirement, for example. It was sometimes that year before the World Cup, it's a big commitment because you're committing your whole life, you're 100% to rugby. So it's very intense. So it's hard to kind of cut the momentum to do it a second year. So I could understand that it's very hard on some people to just postpone that World Cup. Also because everyone was kind of isolated in their space, and we're a team sport, and you were trying to do skills on your side. I remember I had skills to do, so I had 3 balls at home, and I have to throw it to a tree, and I was like, that's it, and I had to repeat that few times, and it was a bit boring, and snow was all over the place, and I was like, what am I doing? It was a bit crazy. So maybe that year was good to kind of get back to a real team and a real preparation, at least for the rugby and the bodies. Yeah.
So speaking of New Zealand in 22 for the 2021 World Cup. It's still very confusing.
Yeah.
So this was your first taste of like World Cup rugby, and New Zealand obviously very steeped in rugby culture as well. Um, what were some of your best experiences being out there?
Um, I think it's when we like we're traveling around Auckland. We went to Tauranga, I think, for the first game, and just that people were very, very kind and very into rugby, and they knew all the players. And I think to go to a country where they very appreciate the rugby and they very like recognize you as a player and as a rugby, yeah, rugby person. And I think it was that. It was this kind of stadium were full, but it's mostly the vibe around it. Like people were very, very very appreciate us being there. So I think it's the welcome. It was very, very special. Yeah.
Any favorite venue that you played at for that World Cup in New Zealand?
Um hmm. The Tauranga, I think it was Tauranga. It was nice because it was a small stadium, but there was a kind of a hill, and everyone was just in the hill on the hill,
Mhm.
um, was just sitting on the grass around it, and so it felt like kind of homey, kind of a fun club game, but at the same time it was very intense game, and like the crowd was very into it. So I think it was fun because like yeah, you could see the grass was full of people, but so it was kind of I think this one, but Eden Park was also like also special because it's a big stadium. But I think the hill stadium was quite fun.
Tauranga Domain is the one you're talking about there.
The what, the stadium?
The Tauranga Domain is the stadium you're talking about, yeah.
Okay, perfect. It's possible.
Yeah.
I have a bad memory for names.
Well, we won the Pacific Four series. We Canada hosted it in 2022, so a home game, a home tournament. How did it feel to actually get to play in front of the biggest crowd for the women's rugby match in Canada?
Oh, that was fun. Actually, Canadian are the most fun crowd because we've been traveling around the world, and um, it was on all the time. Like every little things were cheered on. It was genuine, and um, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because, like in France, like the French crowd, they are very critique about the game. Like they will be very critique, and the way they cheer is being critical too. But in Canada, people are just happy to be there, but mostly like very cheering hard, like on the and just giving like all the positive that you can have just to make us go forward. So I think I very appreciate that crowd where instead of critiquing just giving you power to go forward. So
Your
yeah,
passion.
exactly, be passionate. Yeah. Mm.
I think I remember watching. I mean, when the sevens players kind of World Cups roll around and the sevens players come back and they're
Mm.
um, challenging for spots in the team. I remember watching Olivia Apps and thinking, "Oh, Olivia's going to do really well in the 15s team, and she might be a starting position." But then you kind of cemented that position as your own. Um, what's it like playing with a player like Olivia and having her challenging for your position? Do you think that makes you a better player, or how do you respond to that?
100%. Olivia is a tremendous player. She arrived in the program um, not knowing anything about 15, but she's an incredible athlete and very like knowledgeable and very smart. So she kind of picked it up very fast. So it kind of gave me a little boost on the back because I had to show her, I had to teach her the position, and at the same time I had to push myself to to not get passed on. So it was a great. We've been sharing, I would say, more the position like the past 2 years, and for the World Cup, Kevin chose me to kind of be the main nine. But what is fun about having Liv on my side is that whenever she's gonna come on the pitch, or there's no change of really of the game, meaning uh, we have the confidence in her that she can do the whole game too. So the fact to have two nines kind of in a we'll say in a good spot that could be starters, because she could be starting easily. I think it's very strong for her game plan and her team in general. I think nines is one of the position you need. You need two great nine that can start and can end the game, because both are very hard, and we have a very fast tempo. So depending of the game, it's very very physically hard. So to know that Lives is on the bench after me, um, like I can give it all, and if after 50 minutes I'm done, I know she's gonna do the job. So yeah,
Hmm.
um, it's been good to work with her for sure.
Yep. The first World 15 WXV1 took place in 2023 in New Zealand. How did it feel coming back to New Zealand the year after the 2022 World Cup?
Um, it was pretty good because actually, if I remember well, it was a tour when we were touring in very we were traveling a lot in New Zealand, so we were kind of playing in different cities. So again, New Zealand is a great nation of rugby, so we're always super well received. And um, I remember that pack four when we won. We might talk about it a bit later after, but when we won, the day after, uh, it was still on the TV, and everyone was talking to us about the game, being so amazed by us, and even the coffee shop beside that we were going every day, they gave us free coffees, and they were so it was it was very nice to be in New Zealand for that, but. Yeah, I just like to travel, even though it's very far from us. But I just enjoy New Zealand for that kind of cool vibe. It's not too crowded in terms of city, but it's very comfortable for rugby to be there. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so segueing perfectly into that 2024 Pacific 4 series, this was more than just winning the winning the series overall, because this was the second time that Canada had done so, but this also marked the first time that Canada had beaten the Black Ferns. And,
Hmm.
this is a team that Canada had been facing many times over the years, with the results always going the same way. Likewise, when they played you in Ottawa, the Black Ferns were able to get like 50 plus points on the board, and then you finally do it. You finally break the curse and get that win over the Black Ferns. What did it mean to finally beat them for the first time, and also beat them on their home turf?
Yeah. Um, it's funny because I don't know if I really like when I play. I don't really think of like, oh, it's historical or it's the first time, because I haven't been there the like every years, but um, it's kind of it's just they always were, and they are still like a very strong nation. They are very hard to play, and they are very very physical, and so I think it's the challenge to win against a team that is very challenging for you, individually, but also as a group. That's, I think, the best feeling of like we've done it. Like we've beat them. We've beat the challenge, because I think it's more like yeah, the breaking this the kind of not a curse, but breaking the it's like in the gym, for example. I remember I was doing cleans, power cleans, and I was stuck at, I think, I don't remember, I think it was 70, and I couldn't go higher. And one day I just did 1 kilo more, and after that I could put 75, 80 kilos. So I think it's just to break like kind of an ice. And I think that was this feeling of like, okay, we can do it. That's where the belief really got into us and very kind of explode, saying we can do anything now because we've beat one of the biggest nations. So we're now a biggest nation. Yeah, I think that would be, it's very, this feeling of achievement, I think was great.
Can I just jump in here, guys, for a sec? Because I'm a New Zealander, and I mean, we New Zealanders talk about the aura of New Zealand, and you know, beating New Zealand at any time is difficult. Beating them in New Zealand is one of the hardest things to do in rugby. Um, do you guys have mental skills coaches that you work with to kind of when you win a game like that, rather than thinking, oh, we finally did it, and you can celebrate, and then maybe you celebrate too much, and you don't quite believe that it's a consistent thing that you can do over
Mhm.
time. Do you have mental skills coaches that you work with to try and just kind of say, okay, we can compete with the best in the world?
We don't have mental coach, but Kevin was our head coach, was very good at like putting that in the game review, because even though we've beat them, it was still after, during the review, it was like we could have scored more, we could have
Mhm.
made it even easier for us. So it's like, okay, we've beat them, but we can still be better. So that was kind of the word after the game, like for sure enjoy it. We we enjoyed it a lot on the moment, but when we went back to the whiteboard, and for the next tour after that, it was okay, this is where we're at, and this is what we need to work on. So it was never too much joy. It was, we kept, we stayed realistic after that. And when we saw them again the year after, it was like, okay, well, we know we can beat them, so we don't have to worry about, oh, this is New Zealand, because we've done it. Now it's go. We can go over that, and now we can just perform and be better than how we were, and put even more points.
Mm.
So, and so that's how we kind of, I think, approached that game. Mm.
It's not the only Kiwi here. I'm also born in New Zealand, father's family Kiwi. But what was the atmosphere after that Christchurch victory? Like, was there any like in the like in the sheds after? Was there any like speeches given that you can share, or just the overall atmosphere, like immediately after?
Um,
Like speaking about, he said about the mental part of the game and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for sure to enjoy yourself, because it was the end of the tour. And I think in rugby, the enjoyment post game is very important. Like for sure, if you're in middle of a training camp, or if you're in the middle of a tour, maybe to go party is not the best thing. But when it's end of the tour, it's important to stay connected, to enjoy the moment. Um, it was actually quite low key. Like we don't, in Canada, we don't party hard that much, but it was more to spend time. Well, in the Canadian team, we just to spend time together, to have fun, and to not think about performance, and do something special, because usually the day after you're going home, and all the hype around the tournament, how the hype around the game is gone. And so it's very important to enjoy the big victories, and spend time together, and just have fun. And yeah, so I think it's an important part of the game. Sometimes we forget, when you are high performance athlete, you just perform, 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 but sometimes you have to know that you when to stop and enjoy the time. Yeah.
I guess we'll segue to, I guess, leading into the 2025 World Cup now. First starting is, when and how did you find out that you're going to make the squad to travel to England?
Yeah, it was weird timing, because So we saw each other way more that year. And so we had a couple of tour before England, and we went to South Africa just before England. So we had a camp in Perth, Ontario, and that camp was a top 40 camp, top 40 players. We had a selection of 32 players that was going to go to South Africa for a tour, and that was kind of the last, I would say, tour to get selected, because after that we had a 2 weeks window where after that we're off to Ireland and then England. So we kind of knew that the South Africa tour was kind of the do or die, and some player that like kind of was certain at that point, but nothing was very told. There were a few spots that were needed to be filled. And so after the South Africa, I think that week after, we got a call from Kevin. So it was on a Zoom call, and he was like, "You're in or you're not." But it concerned maybe 6 or 10 players that were kind of, we'd like not sure. Um, so yeah, that was kind of this 2 weeks window, and the week after you're off to Ireland. So everyone was kind of ready to go, and some unfortunately got the bad news to not go. So it was hard that way, but there were no other way kind of to do it properly in terms of timings and all. Yeah.
So, one thing that was made of the World Cup in 2025 was the charitable donations through Mission Win Rugby World Cup, which got very confused in, especially after the semi-finals, where it's like this team had to fundraise to get there. It's like, technically yes, but you're making it seem as though they had to fundraise everything, and that's not true.
Yeah.
But obviously this was like an ongoing campaign over the course of a few months, understanding that the available funds for Rugby Canada for the World Cup were only so much, and Kevin said, well, for us to win, we need an extra million. And when we had him on, he was talking about like, oh yeah, we weren't intending to play in South Africa, but South Africa paid for it, so we went. And then, as you mentioned, like that game in Ireland, I think the game against the USA in Ottawa as well, and the camp beforehand, a lot of that was as a direct result of Mission Win Rugby World Cup. So, from a player perspective, because we've already had the coach's perspective, what did that all mean to you? And including both the donations and the opportunity to get more games in prior to the World Cup.
Um, for sure, like because we're all apart in the world and we don't get the chance to see each other much, it was kind of, what do we want? Well, even the players, we were like, we want to play together, we want to work together, we have to see each other, because rugby is a game also of feeling, it's a game of connections, and it's a game of instinct. So we had to kind of create the opportunity for us to kind of connect in those ways where I know every player on the pitch right now, and I know exactly how they run and how they like what kind of they do. So that was how we kind of like approached the thing. And Kevin the whole way was very transparent about like budgets and like what we could do, what do we, and also asking what we want and what he planned for us. So we went all the way in. We were like, okay, we trust in you, and we want to do what you want us to do. So basically it was that, but the financial part kind of came in saying, okay, well, we're gonna have to manage money, because well, the thing is, the more time we see each other, the more time we get paid, because we have a player agreement. So usually how it works is we have a per diem, so every day we have a per diem, and for camp. But for World Cup, per diem was, well, that's what costs. I think a big part of the money is the per diem and the flights, because flights very expensive. Um, so we kind of have to make concessions, because the thing is was either we give you your per diem as planned, as the player agreements agreed, or we do it differently. We give you, like, in terms of like weeks or a month that you're in the program, and so we can put money somewhere else, like in flights and accommodations and stuff like that. So basically we kind of agreed to be a bit less paid per day, but in total we saw each other a little bit more. So that's where the fundraising came, and they were like, okay, well, we're gonna need your help, because we need to promote our team, we need to get some funding. So we kind of participate a lot also in the fundraising. From here in Europe, I went to London to do a fundraising over there. Some went in Canada, in every provinces. So yeah, it was a big part for us, but it was very important. It was more important for us to see each other, and we try to find a way, the best ways to do it. But I'm very not surprised. Like, the we talk about that World Cup, like you say, because after the semi-final, they were like, "Pay the girls," but that's something we agreed before, and we knew what we were getting into. And for sure, it's not the best when we compare to England, or even to France. Like, it's hard to compare, because it's so different. This is a reality, and I just hope that the message in general was more like, okay, well, maybe we need to, maybe the businesses in Canada are going to be more interesting to invest in us, because at the end, that's how we're going to get money, is to get more sponsors. So I hope the message after the semi-final was more, okay, well, let's get more people on board, and so we can have better I don't know how to say that, not services, but better agreements with the federation. But we talk about that World Cup, but the World Cup before was even worse, because we had, I think, a total of 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and we did soft centralization, we call it. So we all moved to one side of the country, live in houses that people were hosting us. Um, that was something very intense, and but very special at the same time. It was very unique, and I don't think any countries never did that. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, our superpowers.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think people were happy to support and happy to send money because when we saw you guys get out on the field at the World Cup, despite not having lots of time together and not having as many games as other teams, your performances in the pool stages of the World Cup were amazing. I think everybody was sort of starting to, see what you guys were doing on the field. In terms of the strategy that you guys were playing, it seemed unique to me. It seemed like it was the first time we were seeing a team playing like you guys were playing. And I kind of made a comment that it was uniquely tailored to women's rugby, the way that you guys were playing. So how did you feel about your performances in the pool stages of the World Cup? And did you feel like this strategy that you had was something special?
Yes, 100%. I think we brought to the game a different rugby, a different style, something is new, something that it's exciting, and I'm very happy that people, like, it was the perfect place to kind of get seen, because also we had like millions of eyes on us, and I think people started to analyze our game and go deep in it, and kind of not really understanding it. It's just very different, and I think it's kind of a I sometimes I like to say it like as a new breath, or just something is new and it's fun, it's exciting, and that's what people are coming to watch on the rugby pitch. So I'm very pleased that we succeed that, and I think that's the big victory of that World Cup, is that maybe we didn't get the gold, but we got the attention of people, and we created excitement around our game. So I think it's worth a lot. Yeah, for sure.
It must be tiring. It was a very fast game plan that you guys were playing, so it must have been for a scrum half, must have been pretty tiring.
Yeah, it is. It is quite tiring, and actually, it's fun because it's a game where everyone has to be concentrated. Everyone has a role, or everyone can impact the game in their way. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward. But when you understand what you're doing and when you understand the game, the way we play it, it's very fun because everyone is free on the pitch. So. I think it's been hard to put it in place. It took like 4 years, but I'm happy that we managed to kind of show it to the world. Mm.
Did you have a favorite venue at this World Cup? And for off the pitch, what about favorite city that you guys were in, or favorite historical landmark, even since you were in England?
Yeah, I really liked Manchester. Manchester was fun for the city vibe. We arrived there, it was Pride Week, so it was actually fun because there was like a lot of activities, and so every time we wanted to go, like just get our head, because during World Cup, even though it's so intense that you need some days, even in tour, you need some days where you can put your brain off. And so Manchester was good because it was vibrating. Sometimes when you're deep in the country, the city center is fun, but it's not as distracting. So Manchester was a pretty good place, and it was also um, which were yeah, Manchester. I think yeah, Manchester was great, and the venue. Well, I have to mention Twickenham for the final because I think that was one of the most special experience, and I don't know if I'll get to live that again. But 81,000 spectators is something. Like
Did you get a
before
selfie
that,
with Mark Carney?
if I get what, sorry.
Did you get a selfie with Mark Carney?
No, I actually haven't seen him because I rushed to the stand to my family, so I didn't get to spend time with him or shake his hand. But just the entry to the field, we had like a 100 or 200 meter of just fans all around. Like it was a wonderful feeling. Yeah.
No, I think that was the biggest crowd of all time for a women's game. So that was great. What about your combination with Sophie de Goody? Because you guys almost like a mental connection there that you have with some of the offloads that you were giving her and some of the passes. And I mean, Sophie's such a great player, but I don't know if she would be the World Player of the Year without playing with you because you were so good at giving her passes and putting her in space. And obviously, she's running those lines, but the way that you guys were able to connect was quite incredible. So how do you work on that? How do you become like one part of a duo like that to actually make the breaks and play the way that you guys did?
Yeah, I appreciate the acknowledgement of that. Thanks for that. But yeah, I've been playing with Sophie for the past 9 years now. So I starting to know her, and and she knows me, and I think the first World Cup we spent a lot of time doing video review together, understanding the game together. So I know how she thinks, and she's very creative, and that excite me as a player. So I look for those moments, and now it's like you say, it's like we know kind of a bit each other, or I know, like I kind of hear a little bit of her voice, so I know she's around and she will react to me. So I learned to read her and she learned to read me. So that makes easy for just, yeah, find those little cleft connection, little offload. I know she's not very far away. So it's also how our game is building. It's about seizing all the little opportunities, and Sophie was very good to identify them. So I think it's, yeah, I think it's our love of the game and our time of spending watching movie videos with each other. I think helped a lot, and uh, yeah, just mutual appreciation. I think helps. Yeah. Mm.
All right. I think it's time we talk about that game against the Black Ferns in the semi-finals. Um, First of all, this was the game in which everyone started to take notice. I think a lot of casual fans had obviously heard that the World Cup was going on, but they know that, especially with it being on the BBC in England, is like, oh, it's free, I can watch it, something to do
Mm.
on a Friday night. And considering the last time you played New Zealand, which was earlier that year, it was a tied game. The previous year, you'd beaten them for the first time. But as you said, there were some mistakes that had been made, and you could have made it a bit easier on yourself. And it seems this was the game where everything came together. Not only did you score the first try of that game, but you were named as the MasterCard Player of the Match. So, having this very unique perspective of not only getting Player of the Match, but also helping secure your team to the Women's Rugby World Cup final, what did that performance mean to you, and what did it mean to the team?
It actually took me sometimes to kind of realize the thing. Even though the hype after the game was very high, like for myself, I never had that much attention and like social media and stuff. But like on the pitch, it was one of those games where I think you're in that flow state, and like it was fast, it was fun. Like I had a lot of fun. I remember because like everyone was taking an opportunity, and everyone was kind of very like moving forward. So I think it's hard to kind of explain it, but it was very like you say, everything was kind of matching together. We were very confident before the game, during the game, even after the game. It felt more like, yeah, mission accomplished, but it was like, well, we deserved to win that game. Like we were meant to win, and the performance we put on was the expectation we had of each other, and um, so it was just fun that it was kind of the perfect game to do it. Also, because like you said, like it was where people starting kind of to realize, oh, there's something cool happening, and I should open my TV. And I think that was one of our biggest win in the World Cup, or like ever in Canadian rugby. It's that performance, because like you said, it puts us in the conversation. That's where people are started to look into our stories, starting to ask questions about Canada, or like so that's where. And I really like the quote I said about like 3 years in the dark and now we're in the light, because that was very like kind of, it's the moment where people are like, wow, Canada, and I'm like, well, yeah, we've been working so hard, but it's okay. Like that was our moment to kind of show up. And a lot of feeling of proudness. Like I was so proud of the team, and so proud we achieved that big milestone, and milestone on the pitch, but also off the pitch. So yeah, I think it's the culmination of both. And yeah, playing. winning the player of the match. I think it was more, again, I think it's a collective mind. Like a nine doesn't a nine will rarely kind of shine if no one's react to the nine. So like I can carry the ball, but if no one's around me, I'll never open the door to no one. So that's why I think he was a very team, is that me the nine shine. It was because the team was very like kind of the same mode.
I do want to point out that that victory over New Zealand is the largest winning margin of any team against any New Zealand team
Mm.
at any World Cup. But and I don't want to presume anything, but I will say there was one difference between this victory and the other games you played against the Black Ferns, is that this game you went in with the endorsement of Shania Twain as well.
Yeah, that was, yeah, exactly. Shanna Twain was she's a big part of our team, and the fact that she just said something was very special to us because yeah, she's a singer, she's very popular, and but it's we always cheered for Canadian artists in our playlist, in our and she's a big part of it. So for all the years I've been in the program, so yeah, it was a very nice shout out from her.
You
Mm.
talked about that flow state there, Justine. It seemed like during that game, everybody was really, really confident in the game plan. Like everybody understood the game plan. Everybody was in that flow state for that whole game because it was such a brilliant performance. Um, does everybody have input into the strategy for that game, or is that something that comes from the top and then you guys all just buy into the strategy, or is it something that everybody has an input
Mhm.
into?
Um, I think it's a little bit of both. The game plans we had for New Zealand was very similar to all the games we've been prepared for. Um, and I think the the fact that we've played them two times before that, and they didn't really change much in their game plan kind of helped um, on the moment. But I would say that, yeah, Kevin did bring one or two little extra details that made a big difference, because it was our gameplay was pretty strong. It was pretty much the same, but maybe one or two things were different, and we were very good at adapting them. So I think that, yeah, I think it was very the cumulative of all we've been working on, and we kind of for executed exactly what we've planned. Mm.
So I want to bring it back to the World Cup final because, as you mentioned, you're entering the pitch. 81,000 fans cheering, celebrating. They'd just seen the bronze final between New Zealand and France.
Mhm.
8 years ago, you made your debut at Twickenham with, I'm going to guess, significantly fewer people than at that World Cup final. Um, so yeah, you've mentioned like how it felt to like go into that stadium and see and hear all those people cheering. How did it mean to you that this is where you are 8 years on from first stepping onto the pitch?
Yeah, I did have the reflection because I was like, kind of, this is where it started. Um, and I was like, the confidence I've worked on, like I was a completely different person, well, different athlete. I've gained so much maturity, like in the sports, but also in my life. Um, way more confident, way more like energy going into it. So for sure, the feeling was way more better. Was like it was more calm and more. strong. Um, but the difference of the people was for sure a big part of it. I think it was like 2,000 people or a bit more, 4,000 people to like 81,000. I think um, that was something that kind of shocked me, because I was expecting a lot of people, and we've played against like big crowds, but that one was very, I would say, hostile, because we were against England, and it was very loud, and it was hard to focus. But it was also like kind of a moment where I realized, okay, I'm here right now, and that's where I am, and it's it's crazy. There's no word for it. It was crazy, yeah.
It's, just lastly about the World Cup, what do you believe was maybe your best individual game, or maybe you could say what you think was your best, like as Team Canada game, like as
Mhm.
a squad as a whole?
Well, for sure that semifinal was for sure a good game for myself. But when I really looked at it, it was like there's a lot of things that I did that sometimes I'm like, oh, how did I do that? But it still worked at the end because people react well to me. I think a game that's very good was the first one, actually, the Fiji game. I really liked the Fiji game because, well, we did score a lot of points, but I think it was a good first game. Like sometimes you're not unsure, you kind of set yourself to the opponent, and that was kind of like us confidence going into World Cup. Put those tries on, like beautiful team tries. Um, and so I think that first game was also a fun one to watch. And basically, well, yeah, a lot, all the games were fun, but Fiji was a very offensive. So yeah, I think that's all.
Yeah, so just moving on to Rugby Canada in general, and the state of Rugby Canada in general. We've seen, obviously the team had huge success at the World Cup, and everybody got them behind them. We've seen Rugby Canada on Dragon's Den recently. Even just today, we saw Sophie Dugutti putting out a post about how to grow women's rugby in Canada, and what the sort of steps she thinks Rugby Canada should be taking. How do you think Rugby Canada and just the general landscape of Canada can take advantage of your team's success to grow the game for a woman in Canada?
Um, well, for sure, like I think a lot of it is the visibility. It's like to put it accessible, to put rugby accessible, and it's very hard because we have a big country. So we really need to work on like provincials and stuff. Like the provincial needs to kind of put a lot of effort on youth, make like advertise the rugby, put some events like opportunities. Because I remember when I started rugby, I was looking for opportunities to get better. So it's not people that don't want to get into it. Sometimes it's just opportunities or um, a, environment where kids can learn and can play and be competitive. So um, I think when you give that, you get competition, you give uh, rugby clubs, you give like an environment where the kid can improve. That's where it grows because it's you don't need fancy stuff. You don't need that much money, I would say, because the kid will. If you want to do it, you'll find a way to play rugby. But if there's no competition, if there's um, no moments where we can like have tournaments and stuff like that, like that's where it's very hard to kind of grow the game if there's nothing. There is some stuff right now, but I think if we can structure a little bit more rugby in like regions, province, like start to um, there before starting like the big country wise, because we have such a big country,
Mm.
and that's where we're gonna see like more people, more like around. Um, I haven't done a big analysis like Sophie did, but I just know that's how I started, and I was just looking for the next training camp for my provincial team, and I was like, I just wanted to go. So if we just need people there to kind of give it.
Yeah, I
So
think rugby's such a community-based game, right? So like a regional grassroots approach is probably what's going to work in most countries.
yeah, and like give like having coaches like for example in Quebec we have great coaches, but we have few of them. So as soon as one leave, like who's gonna take care of like the rugby? So we need people that is there to coach, to organize. So just to have that, it's a big step, and it's a very essential step, and to have people on the site, on like feet on pitch to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
speaking about growing the game, many of, I think, especially the Rugby Canada women are seem to be quite media savvy. I mean, Sophie de Goody is pretty active on Instagram. I think Visa is, and Bermudez, she is very
Yeah.
social media savvy. So, how can like not just the women, but how can rugby in general in Canada harness that to grow the game? Yes, and help as one part of the way to grow the game.
To use the social media, you mean?
Yeah, I'd like to connect with a wider audience to help get the knowledge of the sport out there.
Are we going to see you on Dancing with the Stars?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that would be fun. But I think it's like those opportunities. Like it's I think eventually us as player, or yeah, to go in the communities, like to go in. I know that I play and I live overseas, and I think um it's I know my community, for example, if Rivière-du-Loup, it's a small town. I know they support me, but I know it will make a difference if I go, and I'll eventually want to go. But I think to be in the country, to do like you say, dancing in the stars, like just to be present in some maybe not exactly that, but in some other instance than sports, something different, like because also I think rugby, like we said, touch communities too. It has big values, so it's about a sports, but it's also about also a way of life and just being great people at the end of the day. But I think to see rugby in another world, in another environment than sport, could be also like something that puts us in the media, in the social and life of people in general. Yeah.
And also speaking, I guess, about the media, last week it was announced the Pacific for 2026 series. The
Mhm.
dates and the games were announced, and I believe all the games will be in the US. So, how does it feel to be able to play a series south of the border? For,
Well, yeah, we're kind of expecting it because the last one of the last WXV was in Canada, and we hosted the US last summer, so it was kind of a bit expected I was not going to be home. At least it's closer to home than New Zealand. So because the our other choices are New Zealand and Australia, so I'm like, at least it's a bit closer. Um, but it's always a fight in the US. Like even though we like just to be the the feet in US in the territory, it's always kind of a, a feisty moment, a little like fight moment. So I think it's gonna be good for us for that part. Even though for sure, too bad it's not in Canada, but we had some other stuff coming, and I think in autumn, autumn. That's gonna be in Canada. Yeah.
That's great to hear. I believe that is in relation to the new structure of the WXV series, is that it's now going to be home and away, in that certain number of games will be held in Europe, and a certain number of games will be held in, the rest of the world, in this case, Canada, New Zealand, and then either Australia or USA. I'm not entirely. Again, we don't know like the full details as of yet, but do you think it's time that Canada plays France in Quebec?
Oh yes, I'm waiting for that moment. Like I want it. Quebec or Montreal, even like we have big stadium. Like I think I'm waiting for that moment with impatience, and I hope it will happen while I'm still playing. Because, um, well, Quebec and east of Canada is very like there's a lot of population. Like there's a lot of rugby there, and there's a big population of French people in Quebec. So I think that's going to be a good rivalry, 100%. But hopefully one day it arrives. But I have to shout out to Ottawa because they've been hosting us pretty good the past two games, and I think it gives World Rugby and even Rugby Canada like this will to kind of put more venues in Canada in general because um, we showed up that we can host. We have like a good event. Yeah. Mm.
Uh, what you mentioned you talked about coaching before and sort of the community game and everything like that. What do you want to do once your rugby career is over? Are you setting yourself up for something like a coaching role, or what's your plan once you're all done?
I don't have a specific plan, but right now I went back to school, so I'm doing a master right now in Bordeaux, because school and rugby are kind of for me a good mix because it's a good way to kind of stay in the profession world but not to be too serious about it.
Mm.
So I'm doing a master in high performance sport management. So I'm very into sports, so for sure I'm going to stay in rugby. Is it going to be coaching or as an snc or as a um, development kind of mindset. But I really love the game. I really love. Um, I'm very passionate about it, but I'm also very passionate about everything that's injury prevention. Um, Getting like being healthy as a player because we're doing a very um, rough sport and we need to be ready for it. So I'm gonna be in the environment of sports. I wish rugby, depending on the opportunities, but I'll be for sure not very far away from the pitch.
Any plan on reffing? Especially with Holly Davidson. Congrats to her with Six Nations.
I've actually, well, I don't think refing, but I actually enjoy refing. I did I refed the underage practice, and I enjoyed it a lot. Am I gonna do it? I don't know, but I never close doors, so it could be a maybe.
There's two or three international players that are now who are scrum halves who are now referees. So maybe scrum half is the position that like to talk on the pitch and become a
Yeah, or
referee.
used to scan and watch. Well, why not? We'll see. Maybe that's how I'm gonna be able to stay on the pitch. So if it's not on the sideline, maybe still on it. So we'll see.
Well, I'm gonna say, speaking about the future, in 2027, you have the British and Irish Lionesses tour to New Zealand. Obviously, it would depend on what flight route they take, but it'd be great to have a warm-up match against Canada in Canada. Just saying, guys or lady. Yes.
I agree. That would have been also a great moment because I think it's the first woman team and touring in Canada. Like yeah, I would very appreciate it and yeah, why not?
Direct flight from Vancouver, just saying.
It's actually very direct.
Yes.
And I guess the last question is that obviously you have your season ongoing with Stade Bourdelais, but how eager are you to don the red and white of Canada and step onto the pitch against, I believe it's the USA, for that first game of the Pacific 4 series later this year?
I'm very excited to be back with the crew. We actually have a camp, well, a tiny camp, we say mini camp, next week in London to reconnect and because we won't have that much time in Pack 4, but I'm very, very excited to be back with the Canadian mentality, the Canadian environment. It's always fresh. It's always good vibes, and it always feels home. So I'm very excited to put back the jersey, or at least to be part of the program. So I wish us the best for the back four, and hopefully we keep building what we started.
That sounds great, and we as fans are absolutely looking forward to it. Thank you for answering our questions today, and to all of our listeners and viewers, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to check out more as well as our written pieces on the rougerugby.ca. You can also find us on Spotify and YouTube, as well as across social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky, all at the Rouge Rugby. Justine, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram. I'm not super busy on Instagram, but I'm getting into it. So come likes my stuff and have a little chat. I'll be happy to answer to any questions of people.
Jeff, where can people find you?
You can find me on X at WP Rugby G.
Ed, where can people find you?
Facebook and YouTube, rugby101_25.
And you can find me across social media at Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. Well, that's where we're going to end this episode. Justine, thank you so much for joining us. Jeffrey, Ed, thanks for joining me. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast, where we talk about real Canadian rugby. We hope you can join us again next time.